The AFC East has run through Josh Allen and the Bills for the better part of a half decade at this point. Josh Allen's coming off of an MVP year, and all three teams, Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets, are vying to compete with Buffalo to make this division interesting. The question is, can they, and can they in 2025? That is what we will aim to answer in today's video as we discuss the AFC East in 2025. But before we jump there, let's take a look back at 2024, in which the Buffalo Bills walked away with this division at a 13-4 record. The Miami Dolphins were 8-9, the New York Jets 5-12, and the New England Patriots finished 4-13. Today we continue my NFL divisional preview series for the 2025 season and round out the AFC with the AFC East. Let's talk some football. Finishing in fourth place in this division and missing out on the playoffs, I have the New York Jets at a record of 5-12. Now, I do have the Jets keeping the same record from last year, one 5-12 season into another 5-12 season. But Jets fans, I have a feeling that 2025's 5-12 will feel a lot better than 2024's. See, like many people, I believe that the New York Jets could have been a playoff team last year. I was bought into the defense. I was bought into the improvements in the offensive line, the running game with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Aaron Rodgers, you name it. I was bought in on the Jets juice. And ultimately, it failed me. And it failed New York Jets fans everywhere. However, in 2025, I think the New York Jets are having a reset of culture, foundation, and building for a better future for themselves, for the organization, and for their fan base. And truly, they deserve it. They cleaned house. Robert Saleh, gone. GM, gone. Aaron Rodgers, gone. And a new era of Jets football is set to begin this season. When we take a look at the offense, the biggest X factor and question mark is, of course, quarterback Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a guy who many NFL fans love or hate. You either think this guy is really untapped potential or probably a career backup. Me personally, I'm not going to lie. I lean a little bit on the backup side. Obviously, he'd be one of the better backups in football, and he is a dynamic runner, but I do question if Justin Fields will ever get there as a legitimate passer. However, I am excited for Fields, as this is a guy who I do feel has earned an opportunity to at least be a starter with a team's full confidence behind him, which I don't think he ever truly had in Chicago. This season, he will have that on the Jets. Tyrod Taylor isn't pushing him for the starting quarterback spot. The Jets are figuring out their culture and identity everywhere else and hoping that Justin Fields is their franchise guy. But whether he is or isn't, their franchise plans are progressing forward with or without him. And I think that that's actually a really smart move. Because if you could buy in and get the stock on Justin Fields' investment low and cash out big time and he does become your starter, great. If not, hey, this upcoming draft class where you'd probably have a good pick anyways, has some really nice quarterbacks in it. Outside of Fields, I do like what is happening on the offense. Garrett Wilson just got paid, and you could argue skill set wise that he is a top 10 wide receiver talent in football. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, a really solid running back room. You drafted Mason Taylor out of LSU. I have high hopes for him. I like Malachi Corley. I'm excited to see if he could develop a little bit more in year two. There are some fun weapons here for the Jets. In the offensive line, I think it's actually going to be top 10 in football. Membu and Fashanu as your tackles for the future are going to be very, very nice. Vera Tucker and Simpson as your guards is a really good unit. The New York Jets are prioritizing building up a strong offensive line, having 1 to 2 elite weapons and filling in the gaps elsewhere. You have Garrett Wilson, you have Breece Hall. Let's figure out the rest later. This is a good core for an offense, especially when you consider that this team is going to likely be backed by their defense. But all the potential is there for Justin Fields to succeed with this core, this offensive core, this season. On the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, is going to look to get this team right, and I do believe he is going to be able to do so. You guys remember when Robert Saleh first got there and everything was invigorated, the culture, the excitement was there, and that Jets defense was one of, if not the best defensive unit in football? Don't be surprised if Aaron Glenn gets the New York Jets back in top 10, even top 5 defense conversations. You have stars like Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, and Quincy Williams for that matter. And then you have a guy like Will McDonald looking to step up and repeat his success, which I do think is possible. I like the pickups of Brandon Stevens and Andre Sisco as well. the Jets continue to make moves on this defensive side of the ball that I do think will yield success, especially with the coaching of Aaron Glenn. Ultimately, wins and losses for the Jets don't matter to me in 2025. It's about establishing a strong foundation for the future, a culture, and believing that you have your head coach of the future for the Jets. They flipped this organization on its head top, and they needed to. It's time to see if those changes that they made actually have you believing in the future. I know this is, yep, same old Jets, here we go, LOL Jets. But I truly do believe that the Jets are heading in the right direction. And if Justin Fields can outperform my expectations and truly be a legitimate top 20 guy in the NFL, the Jets may have a good team this season. I still have them at 5-12 because I don't fully believe in the offense. But even at 5-12, I believe they're headed in the right direction. Finishing in third place with a record of 7-10, missing out on the playoffs, I have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are a team that I've been out on now for the past few years, and I tried to tell everybody last year that I had this team finishing below 500, and a lot of people called me crazy. And well, the Miami Dolphins did just that. They finished below 500 and the offense took a major step back. And I think that nothing's really going to change this year for Miami, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't mean to be so negative, but when talking about the offense, we have to start with Tua Tagovailoa, who I think is one of, if not the most overrated and overpaid quarterbacks in football. This is similar to the Dak Prescott contract, where you paid a guy premier money who is not top 15 at his position. And he is not in the upper half of quarterbacks in football, yet he's paid in the top 5. That is not a winning formula. The guy who controls the outcome of the football game the most out of anybody is the quarterback. And whether it's Tua's health injuries or, just the fact that in big games he can't play well, or if it's cold outside, he can't play well. Everything seemingly has to be perfect for Tua to play his best football. He has to have elite weapons. It has to be warm weather. It can't be against a playoff team. To me, that's not a top-tier quarterback in football. And I think you see each year after year, Mike McDaniel pulling back his trust on Tua. The average depth of target that he is scheming for this offense keeps getting further and further back. And I get it. Some of that is the defense scheming against the deep ball with guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You have to. But some of that is Mike McDaniel says, hey, let's just get the ball in our skill makers' hands and make it as easy on Tua as possible. And I get it. As an OC, it is his job to make it as easy on Tua as possible, but he doesn't want to have to ask him to make hard throws. Now, outside of Tua, the Miami Dolphins offense is decent when you look at the weapons. Like I mentioned, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, still a top 10 wide receiver duo in football. Devon Achane is a freaking speedster out the backfield and one of the more underrated backs in football. But we go right back to negatives because this, to me, is a bottom 10 offensive line in the NFL, especially after the retirement of Teron Armstead. And I'll tell you what, a Miami Dolphins offense with Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback and a bottom 10 offensive line doesn't seem to add up to good math, because even though I don't think Tua's good, the team without him is absolutely a bottom 3 team in football. Absolutely. Tua's not good in the big spots, but the team is almost non-functional without him out there. Whether it's Mike McDaniel's just really scared when a backup's in, or maybe Tua's better than I gave him credit for, I guess. Either way, the team isn't good with him, and they're even worse without him. And at the end of this year, I think we're going to be looking at Mike McDaniel as a guy potentially on the hot seat. Now to the defensive side of the ball. And Dolphins fans, if you made it this far, I'm going to give you guys your flowers here, because I actually do think that the Dolphins quietly built one of the better defenses in all of football. The defensive line is scary. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson. You just drafted Kenneth Grant. Like, if that defensive line could stay healthy, that's a top 5 to 10 defensive line in football without a doubt in my mind. Now, if it could stay healthy is a big deal with that defensive line, especially guys like Chubb and Phillips who just seemingly haven't been able to stay healthy. But if they can, the amount of talent on this Miami Dolphins defensive line is going to disrupt opposing quarterbacks, going to make their lives hell, and going to keep Miami in a lot of football games. You look at the secondary, and I think bringing in Minkah Fitzpatrick is solid. You have Dotson, you have Brooks. But I worry about the cornerbacks, man. Like, what is it, Artie Burns? Is that their best corner right now? They just signed Jack Jones, who I do like him. He's solid, but I don't think he's a cornerback 1. Like, man-to-man coverage doesn't seem like something that the Dolphins are going to be able to run a ton of in 2025, meaning it's going to be a lot of zone. And good offenses, good offensive coordinators, and high IQ quarterbacks are going to be able to pick that apart if they get enough time. Obviously, that puts a lot of importance on the defensive line of Miami's, which is pretty solid, and they're going to need to rely on it to stay in a lot of football games. Unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, I think the Dolphins are just kind of stuck in a little bit of purgatory with this Tua Tagovailoa deal. And if they could move off of him this offseason, I seriously would. I mean, I would have moved off of him already, but that's just one guy's opinion with a microphone. So take it for what you will, Dolphins fans. However, this team, with him making that kind of money, isn't going to be a team that I ever predict to go above 500. There's good talent on the team. I like the defensive line. And hell, I'm not even sure if it's Mike McDaniel's fault. But after this season, he's probably going to be on the hot seat. And the Dolphins are once again not going to be in the playoffs. Finishing in second place in the AFC East, I have the New England Patriots with an 8-9 record, missing out on the playoffs. And before we hop into Drake May and the New England Patriots, I want to remind you, if you love the NFL, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This channel could be your central hub for all things NFL. Predictions videos like this, tier lists, instant game reactions, weekly reactions, podcasts, you name it, it is all here on this channel. Just a real guy talking NFL football with you. Hit that subscribe button. So like I mentioned, I have the New England Patriots at 8-9, and I get it. I think there's going to be a lot of Patriots fans that think I'm underselling this team at this point in time, and I am excited in the future of the New England Patriots, and I truly am, and I hope that you stick around long enough to hear me talk about them for 5 minutes rather than get mad just at the 8-9 record, because I do have this team doubling their win total in 2025, which I do think is a massive improvement, and I do think that they're on the right track to compete with Buffalo in 2026. However, I'm not ready to just floor it and put my foot all the way on the gas like some people when it comes to this team. When we look at the offense, Drake May showed some promise at the end of last year, and going into his second year, I expect him to play quarterback for the entire season and even get better and show off his size, strength, throw power, toughness, mobility. Like, Drake May has everything that you want in a franchise quarterback on the outside. Are there going to be some growing pains this season? I bet there is. Are there going to be some close games that maybe a more established veteran Drake May will eventually win? I bet there is. But ultimately, I think we will see progression of Drake May throughout this season, and we will be able to look at him and go, that's the future of the New England Patriots. And there's a lot of weapons on this team too that I think maybe we'll be looking at the same way. Obviously, the team brought in wide receiver Stephon Diggs, and he's not the future of the team, but he's a true wide receiver one for Drake May. And the New England Patriots, who struggle at drafting wide receiver, bring in Diggs, and, you know, is he going to be relevant by the time that this team's ready to compete for Super Bowls? Probably not. But is he relevant for the progression of Drake May and New England potentially sneaking into a wild card spot this year? Absolutely. We'll see how he is recovering from the ACL. I love some of their draft picks. Travion Henderson, pick 38. I think he's going to be a monster. I think he is going to be a monster. I think he's going to be in top 15 running back conversations by the end of this year. His speed, explosiveness, what he could do in the receiving game. Hell, this is a good pass blocking back as well. Kyle Williams. I loved the Kyle Williams pick. If you guys watched my draft content, you know I believe Kyle Williams is the top 7 wide receiver in this draft class and perhaps the best yak guy in the entire class. Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry, and then you got that slew of Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Mac Hollins, like all the wide receiver threes that you could want on a team. New England has that as well. So there's not a shortage of weapons for Drake May to work with. My biggest concern for this team is the offensive line. The offensive line worries me deeply. And I loved the Will Campbell draft pick, but that is 1 spot out of 5. And New England has some work to do with the rest. I think it could be a bottom 10 offensive line despite adding in Will Campbell. And again, Will Campbell probably best as a guard, but will be fine at tackle. But outside of him, is it Morgan Moses? And if it is, can we rely on Morgan Moses to stay healthy as the next premier player on this offensive line? Drake May will have a left tackle, but Drake May is going to have to scramble and make things on the run. Can he do it? Maybe. Will Josh McDaniels be able to scheme around it? Maybe. But that is my biggest concern. The best thing that I could say for New England fans is Drake May and McDaniels. Listen, I'm not saying it's Brady McDaniels, but I think that could be your quarterback offensive coordinator duo for years to come. Weapons like Henderson and Kyle Williams and Pop Douglas and those guys could be around for a minute too. There is an offensive core there, and left tackle Will Campbell. I don't know how I didn't mention him. His personality, by the way, Pats fans, fucking love it. The guy's an absolute warrior out there. There is a real offensive core. I don't know how high of a ceiling they have in 2025, but they're going to be good for the future. And the Patriots defense is really, really solid. I think the secondary might be one of the most slept on in football. Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis are a really solid cornerback duo. You have Jabril Peppers, Kyle Duggar, and Marcus Jones. Like, it is one of the more sneaky secondaries in football, and I think could be a top 5 unit. And then up front, you have Robert Spillane, who you just brought in at middle linebacker, Milton Williams, who you signed to that massive deal coming off of a Super Bowl run with the Philadelphia Eagles, Harold Landry. Can Christian Barmore stay healthy? That's something you got to look at. And the other big missing piece from this New England Patriots team that I would say, aside from a good offensive line, is a premier edge rusher. Micah Parsons is available. Trey Hendrickson's might be available. If I'm New England, I'm dialing that phone every day. Because if you could get a premier edge rusher, I do think that makes a massive leap for this team in terms of the defense being what carries them. And I could see them realistically being a playoff team then. I don't have them in now, but I think, again, they're an edge rusher away from an elite defense and one more draft to work on the offensive line, and this team can compete for the division. Obviously, you know, my pick for the Patriots to be 8-9 isn't what Pats fans want to hear. But again, I want to stress the core for a great team in the future is there. Vrabel brought back in, going to be a stud of a head coach, a massive upgrade there. Drake May has all the makings of a franchise quarterback. Will Campbell has all the makings of a franchise left tackle. You know Josh McDaniels works at OC. You have Gonzalez, Milton Williams, you know, really good players on that defense, Jabril Peppers. You have a Travion Henderson, who I believe in for the future. There are pieces of this Patriots team that are clearly coming together in front of our eyes of this is New England's core for the next half decade, and it is young, it is fun, and it is talented. I have them doubling their win total, but missing out on the playoffs. And of course, that means in first place in this division, once again, I have the Buffalo Bills with a 12-5 record, and they are the second seed in the AFC, making it back to the playoffs. I think 2025 is going to be another successful year for the Bills. Josh Allen's coming off of an MVP season, and most of the roster stayed the same. This is going to be a really, really talented football team yet again. When we talk about the offense, of course, we have to talk about the engine that drives the car, and that is none other than the MVP, Josh Allen. My biggest argument for Josh Allen for MVP last year was not a statistical one, because obviously Lamar Jackson beat him in the stats. But when you argued who is the most valuable player to their team, I think Josh Allen deserves that title. At least he deserved it once over the last 2 years, and they did give him one, so I'm kind of just pretty much completely fine with it, Bills fans. Ultimately, even though Lamar was better last year than his MVP season, but I digress. I'm so tired of that conversation at this point. My point being, you can't overstate how important Josh Allen was to the offense last year. When you look around the offensive core, outside of James Cook, who I don't even know if falls into this, there isn't an elite weapon on the offense. There wasn't a single pass catcher on this offense that you would even argue sniffs the top 25 of their position. Josh Allen still with that 13 wins, and was the second seed in the AFC. The guy absolutely balled. He was super, super valuable. And in a full season with Joe Brady, was the most refined Josh Allen we have seen, and I expect him to carry that into 2025. When you look at James Cook at the running back position, signs are kind of pointing to this team signing him, and I hope that they do, because him and Josh Allen is a lethal pairing in a run game. And then if you have those two guys, I think you could live with Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, you know, if somebody else, a Josh Palmer, Dawson Knox, like week to week becomes the guy. With how good Josh Allen and James Cook are, that offense has proven to be successful over the course of a regular season. Now, obviously, you would love for a Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, maybe two or all three of those guys to take step ups in developing as talent, and maybe that's what pushes you over the edge. But there's no doubt, when you look at this core, how close they were with Kansas City in that AFC Championship, they could win a Super Bowl. It's just kind of an any given Sunday thing at this point in time. They have a top 5 offensive line, ranked number 3 by PFF. And again, when Joe Brady took over this offense, all cylinders fired. Great rushing attack. Allen has been pure. And if they get that true number one pass catcher, I think it could be all they need to really be a Super Bowl level offense. And on the defense, they made some improvements, and maybe just the improvements on the defense are enough to push this team over the edge. You brought in Joey Bosa on a defensive line that already has Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, and Daquan Jones. Now, Joey Bosa, obviously there's concern. Is this guy going to be healthy for a full season? Probably not, Bills fans, but I feel like you know that. As long as he's healthy for the playoffs and can be an impact player, that's a win for Buffalo. Matt Milano is a stud at linebacker. And again, you have a really solid secondary. Christian Benford, Teron Johnson, and the upgrade at cornerback 2 with rookie Maxwell Harrison. That could be enough. Just those little tweaks that Buffalo has made. Maxwell Harrison, Joey Bosa, a little bit of improvement from your receiver room. McDermott coaching up the defense, as he always does. The Bills are such a good team, man. And listen, the thing is, you have to figure with how talented Josh Allen is, with how the Bills pretty consistently have a top 5 offensive line, a top tier defense, Sean McDermott, who's a good head coach, James Cook, a good running back, and serviceable weapons. Eventually, they will have to get over the hump. I understand that it has been just terrible to watch this team lose to Kansas City every year, Bills fans. My dad's a Bills fan. I see the pain that he goes through. But eventually, that glass ceiling will be shattered by either Buffalo or Baltimore. And this could be the year for either of those teams, truthfully. But I think Buffalo's future is very, very bright. Obviously, when you have a guy like Josh Allen, the rest kind of falls into place. To recap my standings, I have the Bills winning this division at 12-5, making the playoffs. The Patriots in second at 8-9, missing. The Dolphins at 7-10, missing. And the New York Jets at 5-12, missing the playoffs. I still don't believe that in 2025, any team in this division could really apply pressure to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, but I actually do believe the Patriots and Jets have set themselves up going forward to compete. And Miami Dolphins fans, again, I'm sorry. I can't buy it with Tua as the quarterback making what he's making. But those are, of course, just my predictions. Drop yours in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, hit that button, hit the like button. I'll catch you next time. Peace.